Hey everyone, Zach here from World of Game Design. I've done a couple Dune videos already. We did a how to play video and we did a should you play video. But I had some other things to talk about and I had some other ideas. And so this is an impromptu video specifically for Dune Adventures in the Imperium, but you might get some benefit out of it if you aren't playing that and just want to see some ideas at work. But specifically, this is about the espionage conflict and my idea for how to expand it. It's really useful. I think it really improves an aspect of the RPG significantly. And so I'm going to show you what I did, and maybe you'll get some use out of it too. All right, so I'm going to transition us to Roll20. This is where I run all my games. I'm going to pre-assume that you understand how espionages work. If you don't understand that, pause this video, go read page 177 in the core rulebook, and then come back. But all of this down below where you see circles with different zones and assets within the zones should be somewhat familiar to you. What should not be familiar is this space up here. So, what is this? I had the idea that when we zoom out to do espionage conflicts, we're not really just zooming out to do an espionage. What we're doing is we're zooming out to see how the house is interplaying with other houses over an extended period of time, because a spy is not getting into the Harkonnen's palace in 2 hours, right? It's a process, and that process takes months sometimes. So, we're zooming out. Well, I really like the idea of zooming out. I love the idea of we're not playing as characters anymore. We're playing as the house together, and we're making decisions for the house. And so when I run my Dune campaign now, we don't do conflicts like espionages as just spy things. We have house management, and then we have individual character management. And the system isn't changing that much. Really small tweaks, but we're adding more complexity by adding more choices. Let me show you how that works. First and foremost, we are setting an artificial limit on how long we're going to be in this espionage. I said for my party that we're going to do this espionage over a 3-month period of time, and I'm going to say that that's going to take 20 rounds. Now, if you'll remember, in Dune, every time you do anything, move an asset, use an asset, it's your turn in a round. So you're going to have 20 things that you can do during this play as a house. House Nibiru, your competitor, is also going to have 20 things that they can do, and the Harkonnens, your overlords, also have 20 things if they choose to do things in a round. So we've set an artificial limit so that the party knows that they can't spend an overlong amount of time building up or preparing, or this is going to end and they're not going to get any benefit out of it. So that's the limit. Now we talk about other options. They can still do everything from the espionage as normal, but also during these 20 rounds, during this 3-month period, they need to be harvesting spice. The Nibiros have a spice quota. House Solaire, the party, has a spice quota as well. Each of you need to fill 6 squares over the 3-month period using a turn each. So they need to spend 6 of their 20 turns just harvesting spice, just to stay on the Harkonnen's good side. Anything less than that, and you're in the yellow, which is going to be bad. If you invest a full 9 turns, you have outdone yourself. And the Harkonnens are going to be super impressed with you. You spent almost half of your espionage time just focused on non-espionage stuff, but there's a benefit when you get back into role-playing, and that's that the Harkonnens are going to have warm smiles on their faces. So that's one choice, right? And the party is going to already feel the weight of just that one choice. If they're moving around their spy assets and getting their informants into position, all the while Nibiru is focusing on harvesting spice, the party's going to feel that they're like, oh man, if they stay ahead of us, if they finish out this ahead of us, the Harkonnens are going to look at them more favorably than they do us. Or conversely, maybe you're focusing on spice harvest and there you see, or maybe you don't even see, because I use the GM layer to obscure things that the party won't notice. I say, oh, Nibiru took their turn, you don't see anything different. Well, the party knows what that means is Nibiru is shuffling around informants and spies and getting them into position. The party will feel that, and even though they want to focus on spice harvest, they may feel like they need to play the game down here some more as well. We can add more complexity to this, and I'm going to show you that, and then we'll be done. We don't need 30 choices. We need meaningful choices that are different and that have different outcomes, right? So, what's another simple, super easy choice you can add? Well, the party has allies, right? They have their overlords, the Harkonnens, which are still technically an ally, and they've befriended a Fremen Sietch in the past several sessions of roleplay, and so they could utilize them as well. Well, if you want to try to use an ally or try to use some diplomacy, you can do that. You can spend your turn, and right now the party has a 50% chance of succeeding on their diplomacy check. I'm not having it be tied to a specific character. It's the party, right? We're removing the idea of party, of group play, or of an individual play. It's all group. So if they want to use this Fremen ally, they spend their turn, they roll a dice, they have a 50% chance of success. If they succeed, they tick off one of these boxes, meaning that they can only use it 2 more times. And they have 1 or 2 turns in order to, where they get full access to Fremen assets. This is really important and it's really cool because the Fremen probably have assets, maybe assets that you don't even know about, in particular places that you don't yet have access to. Maybe the Fremen have an informant already inside House Nibiru. You don't even have to get past Nibiru security anymore. If you negotiate successfully, you get access to that. Boy, that's super, super cool, especially when your allies are more important than you or have a more diverse set of skills than you and have access to things you don't. The Harkonnens are exactly the same. They use the same rule set. The only difference is that Nibiru, your competitor house, is also utilizing those resources. And when they succeed on a diplomacy check, it uses up one of the boxes right along with you. Again, this is making the party make meaningful choices. They're over here harvesting spice, and they see, oh, Nibiru ticked a box. That means Nibiru is over at the Harkonnen Palace negotiating. Maybe we should have been doing that, right? Maybe we should do that next round. Those sorts of things. And finally, the last thing that I did, at least for this video, is the party had, over the course of their roleplay, invested in a scientist. And that scientist had kind of promised that maybe he could help them exponentially increase their potential spice harvesting. And so I made this as a part of the game. Said, do you want to pour research into science or pour time into science and research? Absolutely can do that. Spend your full turn and you have a 33% chance of success. If you succeed, you tick a box. And after you've ticked all 3 boxes, anytime you spend a turn harvesting spice, you tick 2 boxes instead of 1. So it's really powerful and it's going to be ongoing. So as long as their scientist is alive and as long as their research is stable, the next 3-month period, they're going to get double earnings again. All of this means that I had the last session of Dune where we did this. They spent the entire session running through these 20 rounds, making decisions as a party, using debate to figure out what they were going to do and how they were going to do it, what assets they were going to employ or deploy, how they were going to affect these boxes up here, how much time are they going to spend into research. All of these things are important, right? Top that off with the idea that you're already familiar with, that you can create assets, which is great, right, by the way. So maybe you think, oh, you know what, we met this person, and the party did this, by the way. We met this person 6 sessions ago that lived in Carthage. What if we paid them to be an informant for us? We could create an asset in Carthage, and that keeps us from having to move one of our assets all the way from our house, right? So there's some fun stuff to be had there. Obviously, you're still using momentum and threat and still generating it. So there's a lot of fun to be had where you, as the dungeon master or as the game master, are saying, the Harkonnens are going to spend 3 points of threat. And then you roll dice, and the party's like, what did they just spend threat on? What assets are they moving? Do they just get past our security with that? Like, they don't know. So there's a lot of, and then they have to make hard choices. Do we spend turns thoroughly investigating our zones and making sure that everything is okay? That's a choice that you're going to have to make. All right, so that's really the culmination of the video. That's what I did. You're welcome to utilize as much of that as you want, but also my hope really is that you got inspired. Because I really think Dune and house management is meant to be a super complex, lots of decisions sort of a thing. And I think that while the espionage rules are a great starting point, adding some extra depth and complexity to that process and making it more about the overhead macro view of managing a house and less about just one key piece of house management makes it really cool. And my party's already saying, well, when next session, when we're not doing that, we're going to work really hard on X or Y to make our lives a whole lot easier, those percentage chances of success better when we go to our next game like this. And they're going to have that mindset for house betterment and house advancement and building relationships with allies and pouring time into research and maybe getting their harvesters up to working capacity or sabotaging Nibiru harvesters because they know when they go back to that macro view, it's going to matter. All right, so that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out the other Dune videos if you haven't yet, and we'll see you next time.